Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. If you're new around here, welcome. We love having new friends. Introduce yourself in the comments below. Are you an entrepreneur? Are you trying to get out of debt? What is your story? I want to hear all about it. Today we're going to be talking about Adam Neumann of WeWork. I recently watched the documentary on Hulu. It's really good. If you haven't already checked it out, go check it out. And I'm left with a lot of mixed feelings on it, similar to Elizabeth Holmes and Theranos and I forget his name, but the guy who did Fire Festival. With those two people, I almost can kind of relate, and I'm going to explain why in this video. So we're going to rewind a little bit and back it up. I remember when I first kind of started hearing more about co-working spaces. I had always heard about Regis. I actually had an office at Regis at one point, but you know, I think up until WeWork, they weren't really trendy, and Regis's, whatever the plural of that is, they were kind of more known like corporate-y. So if you are part of a corporate company and you're traveling, you know, maybe internationally or something, like you could go to a Regis and work out of one of their offices, and you know, it just made it easier for like business executives. And these co-working spaces were more so for creatives and you know, self-employed independent contractors and techies. I've heard a lot of mixed reviews. Some of the pros are there's just a ton of people there that are going to offer you support, and you know, if you're maybe in a creative funk, have somebody else always there to kind of bounce ideas off of, and you know, even if you're a solopreneur, you kind of are part of a team in a way, and you know, it's just like this open concept thing, and a lot of people just kind of have like floating spaces or floating desks or whatever, where you don't have like a designated office or desk every day. You just kind of take whatever is available. That's usually always the cheapest option. And then I have heard some of the cons are just that it's very distracting, and you know, if you're not the type of person, or if you're just somebody who needs to be alone when you're, you know, really deep in thought, or you know, needs to really concentrate, you know, that type of option is not necessarily going to work for you. And these spaces aren't cheap, you know. I did a co-share situation at Regis, and I think it was like $300 some, and it was like a shared, it wasn't floating. I had my own, well, not my own, but it was shared with other people. But at the time, I just had like one or two employees. I think you could only have like one at a time in there. And then there was somebody else who eventually came in, but before that other person came in, it was basically just the two of us. So I kind of had it to myself for a really long time, which was awesome. But then when somebody else came in, that's kind of like when we moved out, so it all worked out. And to be honest with you, I never really considered WeWork as an option for me. I do love the idea of, you know, being around other energy. I do need to concentrate on, you know, in certain situations, like when I really need to think hard on something, or, you know, really put focus into something. But I love the collaboration idea, and, you know, so it was something that when I heard of it, I was at first kind of like, oh, like this could be a good thing. But I just couldn't afford it. It's very expensive. And, you know, I think at the time it was so cool and new and innovative. And, you know, you walk into this space and there's like beer on tap and, you know, like coffee, and everyone's just like, it's just like good vibes, and everyone's working and creating and whatever, and there's like a good buzz. But yeah, I mean, that's not for everyone. And as much as I maybe would have loved the idea of it, I think I would have been stuck in like a contract or something, and then just the amount of money that you had to put into it, because I think it, depending on, you know, your location, it was like a few $100s and up, and that's just for kind of a floating space where you're not in an assigned desk or an assigned office. And for me, I really wanted something that had, like, I could kind of keep my stuff there on a regular basis, and I didn't have to, you know, pack up everything, go home, and then go back the next day and unpack everything. Like, that was just too much for me to like think about, because at the time I was doing my organizing business, and yeah, I just had like a lot of stuff. It was just not realistic for my particular business, but I loved the concept of it. So, you know, whereas it didn't work out for me, I thought it was a great concept, and, you know, entrepreneurs helping other entrepreneurs, and I mean, everyone just sharing this space together and creating. What could go wrong? So, over the weekend, I watched the documentary about WeWork and Adam Neumann, and I just really wanted to do a video on this topic because it gave me major Theranos vibes. An attractive, charismatic, you know, borderline obsessive entrepreneur starts a company making a lot of promises that everyone just, I think, really desperately wanted to believe, but just wasn't able to follow through on. Totally getting Fire Festival vibes, and, you know, definitely sensing a pattern. It seems to be like these really big dreamers are so close to something that, you know, this goal that they want to achieve, but maybe it's just a little too big for one person to handle, or maybe it's just, you know, too much, because I mean, at the end of the day, like, you can have a full team of tons of people, but if you're the only one with that vision, sometimes it's hard to convey that to other people, so they might not be delivering the same way. And it's, you know, from the documentaries that I've watched about these people, they're all very meticulous, very much like, was it like type A personality, like perfectionist. Everything has to be, you know, details to a T, flawless. So the company was growing fast, and I think in the beginning, Adam's vision and his goals were amazing, and he wanted to make a difference. In the documentary, they had mentioned that he had some other businesses that had failed in the past, so I don't know if this was something that he just needed a good pitch, and who's gonna question, oh, I'm doing this to build a community, I'm doing this to better society. You know, no one's really gonna be like, ugh, how dare you. So I think he just wanted so badly for this business of his to work, and I think, you know, it's kind of like the Uber, where, you know, or Airbnb, where he didn't necessarily have a product. He had a space. So it was like kind of a real estate company. Everyone was calling it a real estate company. And he was like, no, like this is, and he was like, no, this is like a community. I don't remember if he was calling it a tech company, but I feel like he didn't want it to be considered like a real estate company, because he had like this movement that he was trying to do. And I think I read online, I don't know if this is like a credible source, but I had read online that at the time when he was like trying to get WeWork started, he had, and I think his partner too, had like really bad credit, and he charmed his way into like leasing this space in New York for the very first WeWork office. And I think when you don't have like the capital, you don't have the money to put down in something, like you really have to be a smooth talking salesman. And he's very charismatic. And, you know, in the whole documentary, like that's what everyone was saying, like he's so charismatic, he has this presence about him. And I think because of all of that, he had to really build up this hype about this company. And, you know, maybe it was kind of overhyped for what it was. So in order to expand and open more offices, obviously you're going to need money. And, you know, the places that he was wanting to put these spaces, like they ain't cheap. So he's going to need a lot of money. He's going to need a lot of capital to raise. So, you know, I think he builds up this hype, builds up this excitement for WeWork, and we're building this community. This is like so new and so exciting, and people want to be a part of something. They want to be a part of a community. They want to be a part of a family, and, you know, like a work family or something. And I don't know if he kind of strategized this from the get-go, or if this is just kind of what rolled in and like what kind of happened. So he was raising money, all this money, from these investors, and at one point they were worth like, you know, $1 billion, like over $1 billion. I think it was like $47 billion, and they weren't public yet, so nobody really knew how like profitable and like how big they were. And I forgot, like there was like I think he had like a method to that, like why he didn't want to go, or like why he didn't want to announce that just yet. But anyway, so he was raising all this money from these investors, and WeWork was valued at $47 billion, but it wasn't bringing in the money that, you know, to like make it really worth that much. I don't really get how evaluation works. Like that's something I would love to learn about. And if you understand like, you know, how that all works, like leave a comment below about like how that whole thing went down. But yeah, so they weren't raking in the dough. Like as much as all this hype and all this money that they were bringing in from investors, like it was coming in from investors, but then going out, and then the profit portion of it wasn't coming in enough. So they started panicking. They started laying people off. It was like an internal thing, and it got leaked to the press, and then people started questioning, you know, what is the deal with WeWork? Like, why are they laying people off if they're so successful, they're worth so much money? Like, what is the deal? So then this guy from this company, SoftBank, kind of comes into Adam's radar, and he really wants him to invest in WeWork, and I think he was like rejected at first, and I don't know like how it came about where like they ended up investing in WeWork, and then that is when Adam, I don't know whether he was asked to step down, or he, you know, like an internal conversation with the board of WeWork, and you know, maybe it was like a mutual thing, but Adam stepped down as CEO from his own company that he, you know, basically built from scratch with his co-founder. I mean, like, I'm not gonna cry for him. He got like bought out or whatever for a very, very large amount of money. Like, we're talking like multi-millions of dollars, and so he's fine. But it you know, sometimes it's not always about the money, it's about the vision. And I do wonder if he is like upset at all about like, I couldn't make this work, I couldn't really grow this company the way that I wanted to, and I couldn't figure out how to make it work and be successful. And now I think allegedly they're starting to kind of start over and get better into their financial situation, but it's gonna be a work in progress. And yeah, I mean, there's still WeWorks around. I think a lot of them had closed. I'm guessing, you know, now especially, or after COVID. But yeah, and it again, I don't know how he feels. He could just be like, take the money and run, I don't give a shit. But I personally start businesses because I really care about the business, and I care about the people, and I really want the business to help the people. Like, that's why I started it. So I can only imagine if I had started something that I was super passionate about and then had it kind of ripped away from me, like, sorry, you're just not good enough to be CEO of this company, we're gonna ask you to step down, even though I was the one who created it. So it leaves you to wonder, where did it all go wrong? And my personal thoughts on this is that I think his wife, Rebecca, she started kind of like becoming this like third co-founder, like unofficially, and she started making a lot of decisions and was very much like involved in the company. And I mean, like, I can only imagine behind the scenes between him and Miguel, his co-founder, and you know, it's like, say you and your best friend, or your, you know, someone from college or whatever, like, you start this company, and then all of a sudden their wife starts to like interfere and kind of like take over. I probably wouldn't be too thrilled about that. I mean, I don't know, maybe they're all really good friends and it was like okay, I don't know like the behind the scenes story, but you know, she was like an actress or something, and I mean, not to say that, like, I mean, I used to act and stuff, but she didn't necessarily have the qualifications to be doing what she was doing, especially for a company like that, at that point in time. So WeWork was also very much known for their like company retreats, and they would like go on these like, imagine like Fire Festival if it actually had like worked out. Just at night it's like party time, like concerts, and like DJs would come in and just like crazy party. And then in the daytime there's like these motivational speakers and, you know, seminars or whatever, workshops, and people loved it. Like in the beginning, like people were like eating it up, but then eventually it got to a point where like all the employees were required to go, and a lot of them were like, I don't want to go. This is, not what I want to be doing with my time. But they were like, it was like a company, mandatory company event. So they basically forced them. They didn't kidnap them because they obviously went on their own free will, but it was just I can't imagine not threatening somebody, but with violence, but just you're gonna get fired if you don't come to this festival. And his wife and him would give a lot of the speeches, and they showed a clip of one of the conferences or whatever, and people just looked so miserable. It was just kind of sad, and it just kind of seemed like it was turning into a freaking cult, one of those MLMs, those motivational thingy-majigs, and they have all the people in the audience, and they're woo, and I don't know, I've never been to one, and I never would, but it just was giving major MLM vibes and a cult, a true cult. And I think in the documentary, WeWork, one of their former lawyers was there, and this guy, security guy, was hey, what is this? And the lawyer was explaining to the security guard what it was, and the security guard was like, can I ask you a question, for real? Is this a freaking cult? It was just turning into something weird. And I think that's when people started to be all right, this isn't what I thought it was going to be, or maybe it was in the beginning and then it just started to change into something weird. And I think that's kind of when it just all started to unravel, which is really sad, because whether or not Adam's intentions in the beginning were pure, or he was just, that was part of his sales pitch to get the money for this company, I think it was a really good idea. It's a really good concept. People love community. They want to be a part of something bigger than themselves. One of his former assistants was after she wasn't really I don't know if she had gotten fired or quit or whatever, but I think it was when things started to change, and she was just kind of lost, well, now what is my purpose in life if I'm not helping this company? She thought that was her calling, was to help bring this company up, because there was such a good message and a good purpose behind it. It wasn't just I'm doing a hedge fund just make rich people more rich. It was I'm building this company, this brand, this community space of people, like-minded people, small businesses, entrepreneurs, techies, to come together and create, for the freaking world. What amazing things can you do when you're paired with other amazing people? It levels you up. It makes you want to do your best and be your best. And I mean, for me, when I'm around other people who are amazing people, it inspires me, it motivates me, it drives me, it makes me focused, and I need that a lot. And I think a lot of creative entrepreneurs need to be around other people, for the energy, for the motivation. It's really hard being a solopreneur. It's really hard being an entrepreneur. It's really hard owning a small business. Doing it by yourself is the hardest job I've ever had, because you are your own everything. You're your own manager, you're your own employee. You have to wear so many different hats. You have to do marketing, you have to do the operations, you have to balance the budget, you have to make sure that you're profiting, you have to make sure that the business is floating smoothly in all different areas of it. And that is not easy, and it is not for the faint of heart. And to do that in a creative work environment with other like-minded people, I think just makes it so much easier and just more fun. So I want to know what you think. What do you think? Do you think it was his ego? Do you think it was pride? Do you think he just didn't really care from the get-go and he was just like, whatever, I gotta do what I gotta do to like just take the money and run? The more that I think about it, the more that I just don't know. When I was working on this video the last couple days, I really genuinely thought that maybe he just got caught up in his own ego, but now I'm kind of thinking that this could have been his plan like the whole time, to an extent, and it's disappointing. It's very disappointing because we need things and brands and companies like WeWork with that message behind it, but obviously we need somebody with a pure heart that isn't going to sabotage the company for their own gain. I just think that's why it's so important to support, well, to not only support, but to really do your due diligence and do your research when it comes to the products that you buy, the companies that you support, and really understanding what their motivations are. I'm really trying to just cut out any purchases or support of any company that I know is literally a for-profit only company. The people who start businesses, and I think I've said this in other videos, the people who start businesses simply because, oh, this is an investment, I'm going to make money off of this, I don't think they should be allowed to be business owners because their intentions aren't pure. There's other investments for you out there that are literally just about the money. Real estate, stocks, bonds, like any of that crap, like go do that. But when you own a business, your business, your product or service is supposed to be serving the community around you, the people who need those products or services. So to be selfish as an entrepreneur just doesn't make any sense to me why you would go that route, because it's a lot of work, it's very stressful, and I mean, yeah, eventually like you're going to, if you build this huge mega company and you're this big CEO, you know, and you have all these little employees beneath you to do all the work, but there's still a pressure to that, to constantly, you know, be bringing in money and being successful. You're gonna have a board of directors, you're gonna have all these people, other people to answer to if you go public. Like, it's not for the faint of heart, like I said. So if you are opening a business just simply to make a bunch of money, I think there's other better ways to invest. Just my opinion. But definitely let me know what you think in the comments below. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a like and subscribe to this channel if you want to see more content like this. I love making videos like this for you guys, and I will see you next time.